Hey everybody, welcome to the Minish Recap, the bite-sized gaming news show on the ZBN where we break down game news in 10 minutes or less. Probably not today though, we have a lot of stuff to get to. I'm your host, Spigel, with me, Hex Tuple U Dot.
Hey there.
Let's just go right to it here because Nintendo announced quite a bit of stuff this morning. It's March 17th, and they just went ahead and had a press conference that I didn't expect to happen, and they announced a number of things. These things being, first of all, they announced that they are going to start developing, I guess, applications and games for smartphones and smart devices. Secondly, they announced that a new dedicated game system, Codename NX, is in development. And they have also announced a partnership with company DeNA, and they plan to jointly develop and operate a new membership service that encompasses smart devices and dedicated video game systems. So, that's a lot to digest.
Yes. I think
what was your initial impression? Like, what was the first thing that really stuck out to you?
Well, nothing particular stuck out, but like the whole thing did kind of strike me as a bit shocking, because it's completely out of left field. I mean, like, what the heck? I don't even know what this press conference is. It's just kind of spur of the moment. Just to get some clarity on it, is DeNA also involved with development? Like, are they a mobile developer, or what is their role?
Well, this says that DeNA has launched a range of online services since it was established in 1999 and shifted focus to the mobile arena in 2004, which appears to be them operating and building mobile services.
Okay, so here's what Wikipedia has to say. DeNA is a provider of mobile portal and e-commerce websites based in Japan.
Okay.
It owns the Mobage platform, which is one of the most popular cell phone gaming platforms in Japan. It also operates many other services, including a popular e-commerce website called DeNA Shopping, formerly Bitters.
So on the surface, right, as a business partnership, I think this makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a really good move for Nintendo to be looking to partner up with other companies that have similar interests in terms of growing their business, achieving more of the market, capturing more of that particular spot of the market.
Right, and I think this is also sort of a move to kind of branch out from what their market currently is, which is pretty much exclusively games. And with their quality of life platform that they're going to be doing, and a partnership with a company that does more than games, it seems like they're trying to expand, kind of like how Microsoft and Sony already have things beyond gaming divisions that they started with, and then they just added gaming later on. So this could be a way for them to earn revenue in such a way that they'd be able to maybe support their, like, a different approach to producing hardware. Like we've talked about on multiple occasions where Nintendo can't really leverage producing a console that sells at a loss because they don't have the means to do that. But if they have other revenue streams, then they could possibly leverage the risk of creating a console that initially sells at a loss.
Not only that, but everybody has a smartphone, and the fact is that Mario as a brand, I feel like, is just as strong as it ever was. I just feel like people don't have interest because the barrier of the barrier of entry is still a little too high to like invest $300 in a dedicated console or $200. But if you already have a smartphone and here's a Mario game that appears, for $1 or $2, like an endless runner type thing, like a lot of people are going to buy into that. And I think that's a really simple, easy revenue stream, kind of on the same level as the Amiibo, but with a little more usefulness, I guess.
Right. And I think what people need to understand is that they're not, at least they shouldn't try to replicate the experiences that they have on their hardware, like home console or handheld.
No, and I think they realize they can't do that, right? I mean, like they know they're not going to be able to make Super Mario Galaxy on a phone. It's not going to work out.
Right.
And I actually went ahead and I made a list of games that I thought that they could and should make for their device, or not for their device, for this service, whatever this service is going to be that they're going to be providing on a smartphone. First of all, do you think it's going to be like a Nintendo app where you're like able to download free-to-play games from that app and you just kind of access everything they have? Or do you think they're going to release multiple just standalone games? I feel
that is a good question. One thing that kind of concerned me when I read about it initially is whether or not they're going to be using the marketing channels that are available in the West, like App Store for Apple devices and things like that. I don't really know what DeNA works with as far as what hardware they produce for. Like, if they can produce for Android and iPhone, then that's pretty much the Western market right there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, there are a lot of like unanswered questions right now, so it makes it kind of difficult to analyze this. Like I was thinking about earlier in the day, I just had so many thoughts swirling around in my head about what this could possibly be and what this is going to be like that it was difficult to sort of think of a focus and a way that we could put this episode of the Minish recap together in a way that made sense.
Right. But well, maybe we can kind of like address some concerns that people have about that.
Okay. Well, what is your perception of that?
Well, like, I think so. A lot of gamers out there don't like the mobile platform.
Okay.
In general, just because largely they see a lot of like shovelware and not a lot of high quality games, and the reason for that is because the barrier of entry for that market is really low.
Right. It's the opposite of a console.
There's a lot of really bad developers there that are able to just release games to try to make a quick buck. But there are good games on the mobile platform that are designed with mobile in mind. So the control schemes are different, obviously. You're not going to be able to replicate like a home console or handheld experience, but you can create unique experiences on mobile, and that's what Nintendo needs to do.
Such as, so here are some of the ideas that I had, so it kind of ties in. So I had a couple ideas. They could do a Super Mario Brothers Endless Runner where they start you on World 1-1 of Super Mario Brothers, and you just run through the end of the game, and you just tap when it's time to jump, and you try to make it as far as you can.
That is a very small idea. Yes.
Well, these are like ideas that I had. Like, oh, what if they did this? Like, maybe that would work. Just kind of ways to separate them from the handheld market, because they've made it clear that they want to make that they still want to keep handheld as a dedicated gaming thing, and this is kind of like a third pillar as a term they've used several times in the past.
Well, why don't you keep naming some of your ideas,
all right.
and I can kind of...
A Nintendo trivia game in which you compete against people to get high scores on a leaderboard. Who knows the most about Nintendo company history? An Animal Crossing weed plucking game where you try to pluck as many weeds as you can within a time limit while avoiding Pikmin and other various creatures. Pokemon Shuffle on phone. The Pushmo IP and the Mario vs. Donkey Kong IP and Mario Maker could all be used on handheld in terms of creating stages and bringing them over to the dedicated platforms for people to play.
Okay, so the first few ideas that you listed there are kind of indicative of how people think of the mobile platform, like endless runners and really, really simple, stupid games. But then you think about games like Mario vs. Donkey Kong and Pokemon Shuffle. And while Pokemon Shuffle could be compared to Candy Crush in that it's a very simple puzzle game, you can also totally design, maybe not play, but design Mario Maker levels on a platform like that,
right,
with that interface. And Mario vs. Donkey Kong easily translates well to smartphones, just because of the touch-based inputs and things like that.
If you've played Tipping Stars and you've done the level design, you know that could easily be done on a smartphone. And I almost think that maybe they started developing that with a smartphone design in mind, just because of the simplicity of it and the fact that it was a download-only game, and just a number of factors that I felt like would have been better on a smartphone than the platforms that we got them on.
Right, and that's the key, is they don't need to be looking to what's already established on the mobile platform, like endless runners. That's probably something that's been well worn out by now. But Nintendo is capable of coming up with interesting ideas whenever they're faced with an interesting control interface. So I'm curious to see what Nintendo comes up with. It'll be interesting, and I don't think it'll be like copycats of what exists. Like, Nintendo's good at... they did a good job at DLC the first time they tried it, right?
Yeah.
Like, Mario Kart was stellar. So if they can go in with that kind of standard into the mobile arena, then I imagine they can make some really good content.
I agree.
And the key is that the audience is going to be different. Like, a lot of people who play Nintendo games on console and handheld are not going to be interested in anything they have to put on mobile. But there are other people out there who don't play console and handhelds, but they do play smartphone games. And if Nintendo can get that consumer on their side.
All they need to do is capture the imagination of that person, and then that person might be willing to say, okay, well, I'm really into this. Here's a bigger experience over here for just a little bit more money. And, if you can just draw that person in and treat them like an adult, don't treat them like they're a Wii owner. And it's like, oh, you can flick your wrist and do this. Like, if they just continue to make accessible yet at the same time hardcore games, like a Pikmin 3, like a Metroid, like Bayonetta.
Think of it this way, like Nintendo Land. Those are very distilled Nintendo experiences. You're getting the franchises, you're getting what those games are about, and it introduces people to the concept and gives them a taste for what they can expect if they actually went to the more premium version of those.
Except the Animal Crossing game, because you don't run around collecting candy and like running from
exactly. Yeah. But I mean,
I get your point though.
Like, I have a friend who played the Pikmin game on Nintendo Land, and that really got her interested in the Pikmin games.
Yes.
Like the real Pikmin games. And Nintendo Land's experiences are something that could easily be, like that dynamic could be replicated on smartphones and things like that. Like the simplicity, but also they're whimsical and they're fun. So make some Nintendo Landish games for smartphones. I think that would be the key.
It's funny how they use Nintendo Land as like the way to introduce their new system, the Wii U, and it was like, oh, that didn't come off so well. But when you put it on a smartphone, it's like, oh man, this could actually work very well, and stuff like that just introduce you to the IP of Nintendo, or remind people that IP is still there, and it would act as almost like a signpost saying like, look, Nintendo's still here making awesome games, with their classic franchises that you used to love and you just kind of forgot about or whatever, So that's sort of the sense I get from this in general, just like Nintendo's trying to use it as a signpost to say, hey, look at us, we're still here, and they're trying to reach a more mass audience, and that they'll be able to do that because everyone has a smartphone, and anyone who's anyone who's interested in smartphone gaming would instantly pick up a Nintendo game because of the quality of it and the fact that it's going to be at the top of the App Store forever.
Right. And one thing that stands out to me is that in our generation, like when we were kids, the games to play were on the NES and the SNES. Those were the platforms where games.
How old are you? Like, are you like 30? Like,
no.
I grew up with N64, man, but I get your point.
But when you look at today's generation, kids are growing up with iPhones and iPads.
Right.
And they're growing up with franchises like Angry Birds. Those exist on the current, like those are the platforms that kids are playing. So if Nintendo can capture kids' attention while they're kids with those platforms, those kids are going to grow up enjoying more dedicated experiences on Nintendo's dedicated hardware. So for me, I think it's a huge opportunity for them to ensure that they have an audience going into the following years.
I think the biggest question a lot of people are still having at this point is, so what does this mean for Nintendo's more hardcore franchises like Metroid, like Star Fox, like...
It means nothing. It means they're still going to be making them.
Right.
Like, seriously, guys.
And I'm under that perception as well. Like, I don't see any reason why Nintendo making smartphone games is going to drive them even farther away from hardcore games. Like, the logic doesn't really follow to me.
As long as they can keep a close eye on the quality of the games that are not being developed internally by Nintendo, then I think they're golden.
I agree.
Like, let's not have like Mario Teaches typing style things on these platforms.
So one other thing, I don't think we really need to discuss the service that's going to tie everything together, do we? Unless you have any.
It's high time they finally actually did it. Like,
right.
We've been waiting for this for a long time.
But I mean,
hopefully it means downloads are not going to be tied to hardware anymore. Hopefully it means everything's going to be account based and rewards are going to be tied automatically to your purchases and things like that.
And one other thing, I felt like it would be easy to do companion apps to games now. Like if you wanted to have like an Animal Crossing app where you can take it with you on your phone and you can manage your house like when you're just like sitting around and you don't like, this is for the Wii U version obviously, because on the 3DS you can just be playing it. But like say you tied Animal Crossing U to your smartphone and then you can manage your house or do like mini games and you could earn prizes and bells.
That's
and stuff.
Actually a very compelling proposition you just made. Like tying data from your games to your account so that you can use them on other platforms, that's a huge idea.
Yeah, and I think that's something they could definitely do. Also, one other couple ideas I wanted to throw out there while we were still kind of on the smartphone thing that I had. Nintendo Arcade Classics, updated versions, so updated graphics for Donkey Kong. Like you could do it in 3D, and you kind of control that way. I don't know. No one wants to play Mario Brothers. That game sucks. But Donkey Kong they could do. They could bring back the Nintendo Video app. Everyone wants more Dinosaur Office.
Yes, I definitely that show.
That was great. Dinosaur Office was the best.
I never watched it.
You never watched it?
No.
It was great. They were just dinosaurs, but they were in an office.
Whoa, I would have never gotten that from the title.
I bet they're on YouTube. I bet someone put them all on YouTube.
Everything's on YouTube. Including this podcast / Minish Recap.
If you like this podcast, which is now going way too long, so I think we're just throwing all that out the window. The 10 minutes or less thing is like, that's done. For right now. If you like our show, you can, if you like it currently, you can also give it
if you will like it.
If you will like it in the future, when we're all gone and better people are hosting, you can subscribe to us. I don't even remember what you can do anymore. You can subscribe to us. Comment, subscribe. Oh, you can
follow us on YouTube.
Go to
us on Twitter.
Go to our Facebook page. We don't have a Twitter. Go to our you do at RT Omni. Go to our Facebook page, the ZB Network, and you won't miss anything. Okay, so back to the final thing I wanted to talk about, which was the Codename NX, which is their new dedicated gaming console. What is this?
It could be that fusion that we're all dreaming of.
I think it is. I think that's exactly what it is. And I think
so there's a lot of parallels being drawn to the DS right now. Like the DS launched as a third pillar and eventually that usurps the Game Boy line. Right. So that could happen with this. They could replace the handheld line entirely with something that fuses the console and handheld experiences. I don't know.
I like the idea of one of the things I said earlier today in the Skype chat, the private Skype chat, which none of you will ever join, was that I feel like they're sort of going in the direction of creating a combined experience, but also a new console. So it's going to be backwards compatible with Wii U, Wii, and 3DS and DS games, but it will also have its own new library of games. So it seems like a large investment, but I don't feel like people who bought the Wii U will feel like they're getting burned. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, given when it releases, which is probably going to be somewhere near the end of 2016, if not 2017.
But you have to, it's going to be 2017 probably, but you have to understand that, people bought the Wii U, last year to get Smash Brothers. A lot of people weren't early adopters. I'm okay with 5 years because I bought the Wii U in 2012.
Yeah.
But a lot of people probably would feel burned if, because the Xbox 360 is still around, and I get people that are coming in now to buy an Xbox 360 new to my job. They come in and they're like, "Can I get a new Xbox 360?" I'm like, "Sure." That this thing is 10 years old, right? But I don't know, man.
If they can create an interesting enough proposition for this new console, the experiences are going to be with this new unified system and integration with smartphones and things like that. If they can make this new platform look much more appealing than the Wii U, I don't think people are going to be so bothered by it launching so close to
I think they realized soon after the Wii U started to not perform very well, they're like, oh crap, we need a better long-term plan. And I think this is sort of the beginning of it, is we're going to start seeing Nintendo's long-term plan sort of come to fruition, starting with this announcement today. And then we're probably going to see some smartphone games revealed at E3 just because they said that they'd have the first smartphone games out before the end of 2015. Which, wow, before the end of 2015, that's it's pretty soon.
Well, I mean, smartphone games do not take nearly as long to develop.
No.
Given 2D graphics and things like that.
Yeah. So anyway, Nintendo Fusion, maybe. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think all this stuff is, what it means, all that stuff. Don't be afraid to like our page on Facebook and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's it. I think we're going to wrap up. Is that okay with you, sir?
Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it.
Okay, so thanks everybody for listening to the Minish Recap. We got it under about 20 minutes today. Might be a little bit over, but we did our best to keep it short, and we better just cut it off now before the music's already going. Okay, bye.
See ya.